Hi, I'm Jess Allman.
Hi, I'm Roslyn Lockley.
Hi, my name is Danica.
And I'm Nikita.
I'm Meg.
And I'm Kirsty.
Primarily, probably a lack of interest. I mean, sort of used to observe back in high school, like a lot of girls sort of my age back then weren't particularly interested in sort of computer science as a subject. It was an option in GCSEs, but it was still very much sort of male dominated.
Yes, I wonder whether the fact that it's male dominated put some people off, or it's just that unknown that it's a newer thing and people don't know what's involved. Like,
I mean, could be a lack of information. I mean, and other subjects have been sort of well established up until that point. You know, computer science has just sort of came around the corner and sort of.
Yeah, and I think maybe a lot of people don't understand the routes that you can take from doing computer science as to where that can take you, what the different job roles are, what the options are, and what a life in that job looks like, what your day-to-day is, that you're not just sat tapping away at code all the time.
I am quite enthusiastic, and the big trend I'd say that this year, probably going into next year, is about compliance. There's been a lot of that going around, just make sure with the FCA that everyone's up to speed, and I think it's just been, especially with lenders, etc., something that's really at the forefront of their mind at the moment.
I was recently at Car Dealer Live, and one of the big things that everyone was talking about was AI, and working with media companies and DMSs in particular. I think that's going to become a really big part of what the industry uses and how they communicate with customers. And it's not something I've been super close to, so I'm really interested to see how the industry is going to use that, and I think that's going to be really cool.
So this is like my favourite question. So basically it was like I was relatively new to like one of the teams, and there was only me and two other devs. It was a really small team, and we already had an existing product with car brands already existing there, and we had to merge I think about 14 new ones, so it was quite like a big project, and I'd only been a PO for like a year or something like that, so it was like a massive project to tackle. But basically, because it was virtual and the client is based in Europe, I found it like really difficult to understand like the problems and like stuff that they wanted from us, and then they found it hard to understand like what we had to do for that project as well. So I planned a trip to a country in Europe with the two other devs, and it was actually like my favourite trip ever. We'd managed to get them to understand what we needed to do, and like we understood what they needed after all that. We were on the project for like 6 months and did it relatively like faultlessly, although I think you had to pick up the slack once the project was finished. But during the actual development time, it was a pretty successful project for us. So as a pretty much new PO at the time, it's one I'm always going to be proud of.
Helps you find your feet.
Absolutely, it did.
Yeah, I think mine was quite similar. So there was an API integration that our developers had been working on, and I kind of pushed myself in there really and had a little nosy around, because it was with a client that I was fairly familiar with, I'd been working with for a while. And yeah, I had a nosy, and I said to our developers, well, this isn't really fit for purpose at the moment as it was. So I just kind of had a look around at the products and how they were surfacing, and started communicating with that client directly and making sure that we had things aligned, because like you say, like between clients and us, they have something that works one way, we have something that works another way, and it's kind of finding that middle ground and making sure that it mixes in. And I kind of did that, and I was it was when I was really finding my feet and my independence within the team and getting confident in my own knowledge. And it was nice to actually kind of manage those relationships, like between the client, with the developers and with our support team, to make sure the product that we were putting out was actually fit for purpose. And yeah, it went live, and we were able to move a bunch of manual integrations over to automated, and it's been great since, touch wood, so.